Sir, you're charged with especially aggravated kidnapping. You're also charged with aggravated assault, and you're charged with theft of a firearm worth less than $2,500.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Hello and welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict, and boy do I have a case for you today.
Why is the dog chewing on this guy?
I think they have got the wrong guy there.
Got the wrong guy. The dog was biting him.
He roughened him up quite a bit. There's a lawsuit.
As the agent for Peyton, Ansley, John Milton, you are indicating to me that you're quite familiar with Peyton, Ansley, John Milton, and that's basically you. Is that correct?
I am the agent authorized to represent Peyton, Ansley, John Milton, as written in all capital letters.
All right, and you understand for my purposes, though that language doesn't make any sense. So
No, I do not.
I understand? Okay, well, I'm telling you that. And so I am, until you disabuse me of the motion, or the notion, I am inclined to believe that you are both the agent and the person, so. And it's in
I'm
all
not a
caps,
person,
right?
I am one of the people, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
I love it. It never gets old. I'm not a person, I'm one of the people. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. I am the Recovery Addict. I'd just like to also put out a big warm welcome to sample user who was first in chat. No, I'm sorry. It was Ashley, first in chat this morning. And I promptly punished her by accidentally timing her out. So Ashley, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my goodness! It feels like Monday all over again. But we have a court case today to follow. It's happening today. It happened yesterday. We're going to catch up on yesterday, and we're going to pick it up when it starts today. It may be done today, open to shut, and it's pro se. It's pro se. I'm just telling you, it doesn't get much better than this. So here we go. We're gonna bring that to you. We have a couple other things to do first. Ashley, first in chat, wins the prize punishment. It's a punishment. I call it a prize, but it's not. It really isn't. There's no honor in this, Ashley. You are sentenced once again to internet ownership, and you're responsible for maintaining everything IP related worldwide as a result of your sins this morning. You know, a crime against humanity of being the first person to talk in chat. But we're glad you did it, because once you do it, then we don't feel so bad about doing it, and then everyone can talk. So thank you very much, Ashley. A repeat offender, habitual offender. Wonderful. Thank you very much. All right, voice is almost better, but as I talk, it's going to get worse, which is a good thing, because we've got a case that we're going to follow. We're going to pick it up, and this time it goes on permanent record. Yes, screeners. Oh, man, I've got a rap sheet for Ashley. Oh, my goodness, I could tell you about all the things she has done over and over. Let's see, no birthdays today? Almost made a comment. Why would there be no birthdays today? Like, mathematically, what happened 9 months ago that would be? Was there a big sporting match on, like, every year for the last 100 years? I'm just curious. Maybe. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry. Fun little side note.
I'm not a camel.
There you go. I'm not a camel either. Fun little side note. First of all, Hank Blatt, hello, welcome, 2 months, I appreciate that. Look at your courthouse changing color for your third month there. Lego My Brief says, pro se, you say? Well, okay, love to RA. Lego My Briefs, thank you very much. And look at that, you've got waffles and all sorts of fun stuff in your...
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
I'm looking at the waffles. There we go, can we grab the waffle? I can't grab the waffle, apparently. I can grab the courthouse.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
I can't get the waffle. All right, we are going to address subject matter jurisdiction and everything else. I've got a couple things to talk about. You know how I say sometimes I get in trouble and you know, have to sleep on the couch type thing. It's never happened in my life until last night, and I was out in the Airbnb a little bit later than normal. And I found myself locked out of the house late last night. I had to sleep in the Airbnb. I could have woken them up, but I think they accidentally locked the door behind them when the kids went in, because we were all out there in the Airbnb. I was out there a little bit longer, and had to sleep in the Airbnb last night. So don't tell the inspector, because it has not been inspected yet. So I'm pretty sure he doesn't watch the show. But it was comfy. It was pretty nice. It was actually really nice. I was impressed with how quiet it was. never good when I have the buffer sound. But let's see. Oh, here we go. See,
Are we going to adjust
Candace
subject
Hoff's
matter
husband has a
jurisdiction?
birthday today. Pickles and Zoe the cat's dog. Pickles and Zoe the cat and dog.
There's a lawsuit.
Tammy has a birthday today. Okay, so we have Tammy and Candace Hoff's husband. Are we going to sing to it just like that? Tammy and
Squirrel!
Canvas. All the sounds are going nuts. You guys have missed the sounds. I fixed them. I was hard at work yesterday. I figured if I'm not going to be live streaming, the least I can do is keep the sound effects and get those working. So we got those up and running. No cats in the Airbnb. Sorry, this is going to be a pet-free environment in there because we don't know what allergies the guests will have. Okay, are we sure it wasn't an accidental lockout? No, we were planning on staying in the Airbnb. Like my wife and I were going to try to live in for a couple days just to make sure everything works the way we think it does, right? So we'd have to be there to use it, whether it's the sinks and make sure there's no leaks or no weird little buzzes from lights or we want to stay in it for a couple nights. And that was the plan. And I invited Mrs. R.A. I said, hey, do you want to stay in it tonight? She's like, I don't know. And then she interpreted that as I'm going to stay in it tonight and locked me out of the house because
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
So if you know any good marriage therapists, no, just kidding. It was actually quite comfy out there. And I got to snore in peace. And she probably got a good night's rest without me snoring, and it was wonderful. I think it was a win-win. All right, let's see. Happy birthdays to KS. Who's KS? Hang on. Whoa. Because we had... Let me go back. Who's got the birthdays?
There's a lawsuit.
Now you're at a third name, and I'm going to have to write this down. Okay, so we have Candace Hoff husband. We have Tammy, who is sister to Pickles and Zoe the cat and dog. And who's this KS, folks? Let's see. Oh, happy birthday, KS. There we go. And KS. There we go. KS has a birthday today.
How does he do that?
It was a date in the Airbnb. At least it was going to be date night. I was going to invite her out for a movie, sit on the couch and watch a movie on the big screen. And turns out that all the kids wanted to be involved as well. So we watched, let's see, what movie was it? I have the memory of a goldfish. Hold on. It'll come back to me. Let's see. It had like Will Ferrell in it, and I think it was his name Ryan Seacrest or something. And they were like elves or Christmas. It's a Christmassy movie, and it's a musical as well. You guys know which one I'm talking about, right? Anyway, let's go ahead and sing. And by let's, I mean you guys. I have Candace Hoff's husband, Tammy, and KS. Here we go. Wish me luck. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Candace Hoff's husband, Tammy and KS. Happy birthday to you.
Are we going to adjust subject matter jurisdiction?
It's nice to have Daryl Brooks just chiming in as he would if we were here in real life, inappropriate moments. I do want to celebrate the birthdays with everyone who has a birthday today. It was not Elf. It was like Elf. Is it Ryan Seacrest? I don't know the guy's name. Who was the? You guys, I would get lost in like a who's who in Hollywood magazine. I don't know who they are. Could you sing longer? Happy birthday. No, I can't. You mime and we'll all sing. Okay. To everyone who's celebrating birthday today, thank you so much for being here. Oh,
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
Mrs. R.A. just brought me in some hot cocoa. Oh, it's delicious. Oh, it's so warm. Love it. All right. For everyone who's celebrating birthday today, I realize there are a million places you could be to celebrate your birthday where people will recognize you for your many accomplishments. But you chose to be here with us, and that is no small thing. Thank you very much. We hope we, in some way, can make your birthday just a little bit better. And with that said, Let's see. We are going to we're going to turn the music down just a little bit. It's not Elf. It's I think it's called like Spirited or something. It's like the Scrooge story. Ryan Reynolds, that's him. Ryan Reynolds. Who's Ryan Seacrest? Why does that name come to mind? Is that not the same guy? It was like, did he play Ryan Seacrest, or are they both real people? Spirited. There it is. Who said it? Lauren Lively. Spirited with Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell. Yes. I'm sorry, Ryan Seacrest, if that's the person. For injecting you into that show. Or maybe that was a compliment. I don't know. Getting you the wrong Ryan. Ryan Seacrest is his brother, says Greeners. For some reason, Greeners, I'm not buying that. I'm thinking American Idol. Ryan Seacrest. That name sounds right. I don't watch American Idol. I watch a little bit on the YouTubes when I get on the internet and see some like the top performers or the worst performers. That
Don't miss the forest for the trees.
It was on Apple TV because we bought this new TV and it came with like a 3-month free subscription to Apple TV. So we're going to watch it for 2 months and 29 days and then cancel because that's how we roll. All right. Okay, it's time to get going. Oh, comments are off this whole time. And nobody told me. Where?
I'm not a cat.
Are they on now? Oh, I noticed comments are off for the last few streams. I like to comment and read them. Is that a mistake that they're not allowed? Rudy Patootie, the comments should be on. The problem is when we go live, the comments will be there. And if you watch it after we go live, the comments will be gone for 24 to 48 hours. And that's just a YouTube thing. While they scan them, they look for objectionable content. They look for words that they don't like. Basically, any way they can punish me, they will, based on the comments. That's why we ask you guys to use nice words and to avoid using certain words in chat, because when YouTube does that scan and checks everything out, it sometimes punishes us just because we're having a conversation about a court case and the facts of the case. So, but generally after the 48 hours, the comments come back up. So if you're on delay, if you're watching like the day before, that's the worst window because you never get to see the comments. But if you're like on a longer delay, the comments are back. But hopefully that helps a little bit. All right. Is there anything else still not on? It's not a setting that I know of. We have not changed anything. So it might be a YouTube little hiccup on getting them processed. We had problems with YouTube yesterday as well, with integrations and things like that. So it might have been a system problem. All right. There was a court case I saw, trying not to get too political, but a court case I just saw that was filed by Elon Musk, where he's suing Media Matters for all the marbles. He's like going for the throat. If there's something televised on that, I might put it on my other channel. But we'll keep an eye on that. He just barely filed the lawsuit yesterday, I think. All right. Okay. We're going to get started because we have a pro se defendant. Hold on. We have a pro se defendant, and we are in Thurston County, Washington.
There's a lawsuit.
And by Washington, I think that's Washington, D.C. Is that right? Is Thurston County in Washington, D.C. or Washington State? Is it like Washington, D.C. area? It's not Darrell Brooks. No. We're going to have to do a little bit of research as we go. Oh, my goodness. That hot chocolate is so good. It burns a little bit going down, but it's a good burn. KH in South Carolina, happy anniversary, 53rd anniversary.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
There's criminal charges filed on that one as well. Yeah, they're going criminal and civil. So there's punitive, like money damages, and somebody's going to go to jail, I think, if they're guilty. Lawner Debbie, you're in Thurston County. You might want to visit court today, Lawner Debbie, because, see, we're in District Court 4 today is where we're going. D.C. its own country. But are we talking Washington State? Thurston County, Washington State. Okay, so that's good to know. The reason I'm asking is not because I'm just geographically impaired,
Is that
which
correct?
I am, but Thurston County in Washington State, 9 o'clock in the morning happens a lot later than 9 o'clock in the morning in like Washington D.C. So that's why we're going. Okay, so they're going to start again 9 o'clock in the morning. We're going to try to get through as much as we can of what happened yesterday, which was jury selection. And the thing I love about this court is we get to see jury selection. All the jurors sit in front of the camera. We get to, and this is how they do it. And it looks a little weird because we're so used to the jurors being like the sacred, I'm not sure if that's an appropriate phrase to use. The juror has always been kept safe from the public eye in all of our court cases. And in this case, the jury is full on in the public eye, and we get to see and hear the exchange that goes back and forth. Has any pro se defendant succeeded in court? I bet we could probably find some that have, but it's very rare, very, very rare. So are we all ready to begin? I've stalled long enough, and I'm ready to stop talking, honestly. Let's see, where's our window? Now the court, every time they take a break, they stop the live stream and start again. So we have 4 pieces that we're watching from yesterday, and I don't think any of them are more than 2 hours long. Let's see, one of them's a couple minutes, 1 hour, 1 hour. Yeah, they're all an hour or less, roughly. Okay, so here we go. Here's what I want you to do. I need somebody who wants to do a little bit of research because this is a small case. This hasn't been in the headlines. This hasn't been on CNN. We haven't followed this, through the works and through the years as it's worked through the system. I don't even know what the charges are. I know there are 2 charges, but I'm going to need some people who are going to do a little research on Thurston County and see if they can find out a little bit about this as we go. And we'll keep that conversation going in chat. I'm going to save my voice for singing for tomorrow. All right, here we go. Let's bring up some audio here. Reset the levels. We're good there. Bring it full screen. There he is.
Miss Weaver's not waiting to be let in. No one else? Okay. All right, then I guess I'll let Miss Weaver jump in when she gets here with her client. But for now, we've got Mr. Farag here. 2 cases. We've got 2A74974 and 1A505393. Mr. Farag is here representing himself, and Mr. Pasterka is standby counsel. All right. How are you doing this morning, Mr. Farag?
Fine, Your Honor. Could you repeat the last 4 numbers you mentioned 2 cases?
Mm-hmm. I did.
It's a bad sign. He doesn't know which cases he's here to represent himself on.
Which one did you miss?
Well, you mentioned 2, right?
I did, yeah.
Can you give me the last 4 numbers on both those cases?
Yeah, the last 4 are 4974. And the other case, last 4 is 5393. So let's see, these are respectively a Tumwater case and a state case. So are the city of Tumwater, just a second, Tumwater. Is the city and the state ready to proceed to trial?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. And your question, Mr. Farag?
Yeah, you said the 5393 was which agency?
State. The state is the prosecuting authority.
And the 4974?
City of Tumwater. So, Mr. Farag, my question to you is the same as to the prosecutor. Are you ready to proceed on these cases?
No, I'm not, Your Honor. It's flat out no. I just want to say that the consolidation of cases hasn't been procedurally brought forward.
No, you're right about that. They would be tried one at a time.
Right. That's what there's reasons for that as far as my objections. The state patrol case has to do with traffic suspendeds. The Tumwater Police, first of all, it's none of their business that I have a suspended license. This is just exclusively between myself, the defendant, and the state patrol. And I don't get no tickets in the city.
Okay, so that pause for just a second. Let's see if we can get this to resume. Come on. Don't do this to me. Why is Rob Spinny Wheel visiting my show? Checking Ashley, paging Ashley. Give us a second. It's going to load up. Okay, we're 19 minutes, 43 seconds in. We're going to refresh
suspended. The Tumwater Police, first of all, it's none of their business that I have a suspended license. This is just exclusively between myself, the defendant, and the state patrol. And I don't get no tickets in the cities. And it was a pretext stop, and it was 1 mile away from my house. And it was questionable whether he wanted to pull me over in the first place. And then it involves the I wouldn't say companion cases, the other two cases that have to do with the trespassing and my traffic carry bag. I have a bag like this for my traffic carry bag. It involves the Tumwater Police.
I'm going to stop you. All right. I'm going to stop you because you're at trial now. Okay. And there's some differences between trial and some of the pretrial procedures that you probably got more experience in. One thing is trial is going to be a lot more focused right down on the issues to present, the issues and facts to present to the jury. And it's going to move faster. All right. You're used to things kind of moving along at a little different pace, and they're being a little more sort of back and forth question and answer between you and the bench. That isn't the way a trial works. Okay. So what I'm doing right now, I'll explain this briefly because we're going to go into it and we're going to be moving relatively quickly, like I said. So what I'm doing right now is, with your assistance and the assistance of the prosecutor, deciding which of these two cases is ready, which one is going to be tried first. The other case would not be tried today. Whichever case is tried will be the only case tried today. The other case will either be reset or dismissed, depending on procedural aspects of the case that I'm going to ask you about and the prosecutor about later. Once we decide which of these cases is going to go to trial, we are going to then immediately discuss any pretrial issues that have been raised by the parties in accordance with the rules of the court. I will make rulings on them. Again, this will happen relatively quickly, and it will be maybe a little bit different than you expect. And we will also briefly address jury instructions as proposed. And then once we've done that, then we will break until we have the jurors here, which is going to be this afternoon after lunch, and they'll have been given their orientation. And then this afternoon, when we start, we're going to launch immediately into the jury selection process, which is going to involve me. It's going to involve the attorneys for the prosecution and you in selecting a jury. Once we've done that, we're going to go immediately into, I will advise the jury about their roles and responsibilities and give them some advisements. And then the prosecutor and potentially you will issue an opening statement to them. That's how this is going to go. And then we'll break and then return.
I understand what you're saying, but the thing is now.
No, you don't understand.
You break between 12 and 1, right?
You gotta stop. Okay. I'm telling you.
I thought I could.
No, I'm not done telling you how this is. I'm not done telling you how this is going to go. All right. There's more. The second part of this case is going to happen tomorrow, at which time the prosecution will present their evidence.
That's today.
You'll present evidence or have the opportunity to present evidence. I'll advise the jury further about the law, and they'll deliberate and hopefully then reach a verdict. But there isn't any other procedures involved in this, okay? If you're hoping to talk about things that happened at Department of Licensing, we won't be doing that today. If you're hoping to talk about the reasons that the police stopped you and whether those were legal or not, we're not talking about that today either. The time for those things has passed. Okay, so I'm focusing you and all of you just on these issues because these are the things that we need to do in order to try the case to the jury. All right. And I expect, since you're representing yourself, that some of these things you may not be fully familiar with, and I'm willing to offer some explanations if you're willing to listen to them. Okay. So this, as I said, is different than the pretrial procedures you've been involved in more frequently.
Well, the pretrial procedures, Judge, we need to discuss that.
We don't. I'm sorry, but we're moving to the trial procedures, which is where we are now. This is the process of the case that we're in now is trial.
Yeah, I understand, Judge, but I have objections in regards to that. So
my question to you was, are you ready to proceed? And you said no, so explain to me why you're not.
Okay, I'm not ready to proceed. First of all, the state's ready to proceed, and then they don't want to serve me copies of the jury instructions. I mean, I need to look them over and maybe do some research and determine whether I'm going to be tried fairly or not. Do you want to give me the jury instructions, Counselor?
You're going to get copies of the jury instructions.
Excuse me, Judge.
You will get copies of the jury instructions.
Why do I have to get copies at the last minute? I can't prepare what my counter instructions are going to be, and I can't include some of my instructions.
Jury instructions and motions in limine were due last week on Thursday, and I believe that the prosecutor filed theirs last week on Thursday. Is that correct, Mr. Robbins?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I wasn't served, Your Honor.
They're here.
I checked my mail this morning just before I came in.
Okay. Well, they're also in the court file.
Well, they're in the court file. Judge, am I going to get served a copy? I mean,
I don't know. I'm not the party who serves instructions.
So what is? And then I want a written plea offer. I asked the prosecutor for that. Doesn't want to give me.
No, Mr. Frog, we're not talking about plea offers. We're not going to discuss that. It's inappropriate for you to discuss that with the court. It's inappropriate for the court to be involved in any of that. Those are offers of settlement that are not any of the court's business. That's between the parties.
Okay, well, I'm having difficulty getting that. Now, back to you break between 12 and 1, right?
It may be earlier than 12, depending on how quickly we get through the other stuff.
But it's for an hour up until 1?
No, the jury will be here and ready at 2.
Oh, okay. So we might break earlier, but we'll resume at 2.
Yeah.
Now, the two cases that we mentioned, Judge, I don't want to consolidate these two cases, and I don't want either of the cases to come before the trespassing case because these cases all hinge on the trespassing case, which is set out, I think, at the last.
Okay. Now, there are two parts to that. One part is you're correct. These two cases are not consolidated for trial. They're just both here today.
Because in case one doesn't go over the other.
Yeah, one of them is going to go and the other one's not, as I said. The other cases that you have pending in this court that are not before the court today are not going to be addressed.
So we don't know until later which one of these cases is going to go.
Well, that's what we're deciding now.
Okay, and I just want to make my factual statements and arguments in that regard. See, I was prejudiced, Your Honor, by my papers. I carry in the car a traffic carry bag like this with my registrations from all my vehicles because it was impractical to keep them in one spot. Now, they broke into my box van and they took that traffic carry bag, which is essentially a computer hard copy. I had all of my records. There's mail there from DOL. There was all the records and papers from all my impounds. There was banking statements that shows the balances so I can prove that I'm self-insured. And then there was the work product. So you see what I have here? This is my work product. I had similar to that going back months and years. And one sheet of paper like this, if it's missing, that would set me back considerably. And the contents are not inventoried. So the dual buildings that are bringing the trespass charge have affected these traffic cases. And the Tumwater Police is rattling their mouth off and letting these people know they're adjoining property owners or tenants of a property. And they are running their mouths. They know that I have a suspended license, and they're emboldened by that. And they're trying to supplant me and take over my property rights. And they're breaking into my yard and stealing my catalytic converters off all my trucks. And they're doing other things. They're coming over. And I have a problem with these dual buildings next door. And that case should be tried first to pave the way for the traffic cases, especially considering the prejudice.
It's not going to happen, though.
Well, I know it's not going to happen. I hear what you're saying, Judge, but I'm saying I've been prejudiced. And I wasn't able to get a proper extension of time pre-trial on these cases.
Look, Mr. Farag, I'm very much not clear why you're not ready to proceed on these cases. This explanation isn't making very much sense to me. I'll note here that these two cases we're talking about have been pending now. One of them for 2.5 years and one for very nearly 2 years. So it's very difficult to understand.
Well, the reason there was additional delay in that 2 years, Judge, is because I failed to appear because of the dual buildings. There was a warrant, and I wanted to see who was going to effectuate that warrant, whether it was going to be the police, the local police, or perhaps outside jurisdiction. But what happened is the dual buildings themselves initiated apparently what they perceive as a citizen's arrest. And there's a problem with that. They have overstepped their bounds. And, they're parking in front of my property line on a narrow street. And I'm going out there to check who's parking there. And the guy jumps me and holds me, almost killed me. I want to bring charges regarding that. For a false arrest, attempted murder, and
Your Honor, I apologize for interrupting. This state is requesting that we could determine which trial is going. We just have a witness who would need to drive to Spokane that we need to give as much notice to as possible.
I'm trying to get to that. Mr. Frog, I know I told you when I started this morning, this is going to move rapidly.
I know you want it to move rapidly, Judge. I know that.
And I'm going to start that process now. But
as far as I can't move as rapidly as you want to move rapidly.
Mr. Frog,
you don't appreciate the complications involved.
Yeah, there are a couple of things here we're going to sort out right now. And this is all in the interest of being able to get your cases to trial. First of all, now you've known me a while, and
this judge has been here before.
I think you know how I operate, okay? And I can be, I think, pretty patient, and when there's time available, let things extend in order for you to be able to, as best you can, express yourself on these things. But like I said, we're at trial, which is a different kind of procedure. And I am going to ensure that this case moves to trial as scheduled. If everybody's ready to do that. I mean, if the witnesses are available and so forth, which I expect they are, or we wouldn't be here today.
Do we know for any certainty that the state's witness is going to appear
part of this,
on either of these two cases?
Part of this, Mr. Farag, is this, and this goes for everybody, but particularly you right now. I'm not going to tolerate you interrupting me when I'm attempting to ask questions or explain things or make rulings. That is over this moment. Okay, that is improper trial behavior, and I will not tolerate it at all. There won't be any other warnings either. I want you to be clear on that.
Well, I'm very clear, Judge. But the thing is, you're not tolerant. This whole situation was created by you yourself. You didn't want to do a show cause, and you huffed as to whether I could get that heard. And I've got troopers out there harassing me and nitpicking and pulling me over for senseless reasons. And then we got the streets, the Tumwater Boulevard, the delay in widening that road. We have a situation on 101 I-5 exit.
And we have potholes.
I-5 101 exit that was blocked by the DOT work crew at that junction. And we have, we paid the tickets, and we went with the court, but it all got sidetracked and this and that, and here we are, and the stakes are very, very high, and you don't realize how complicated, how high the stakes are. Now, I disqualified you. You continue to preside. And then I want to change your affidavit for prejudice for cause, but I don't want to use up my affidavit of prejudice for no cause. And Buckley, the situation with Buckley, you and Judge Myers jumped on that. You said, "Oh, Buckley was disqualified for no cause."
I need to redirect you here, Mr. Farag. I need to redirect you because you're not.
Well, if you're not going to be as fair as you were initially, when this whole thing started, I don't think you should preside over any of my cases. I want to prejudice you for cause, but until then, it's going to be without cause.
I believe I'm going to double check my record here, but I believe
Jenkins, the attorney, when he was standby, I affidavitted you for prejudice, and we were nice about it. But now the stakes are so high, it's a whole different ball game now. I don't have to be nice anymore.
I think you're confusing the situation. You affidavitted Judge Buckley in your case.
Well, no, the Judge Buckley, he did not. Let me see here.
And Your Honor, Corey Thompson for the state. That is correct. I was in court when Mr. Farag did that in open court on the record at the end of the calendar.
That's what my record shows too. Which is you're entitled to do that.
The jury has no idea.
Criticism that
they're holding their summons.
You
have
can't
no
do
idea
it again. That's procedurally, you can only do that one time with one judicial officer, and you've done it. So, I'm trying, Mr. Frog, I'm trying to get you to
see with Buckley. I was going to say, I can't find my notes, but it wasn't affirmed. It wasn't acknowledged. It wasn't.
Yeah, it was. The record reflects it. And
he walked out. He walked out. He didn't clarify it.
No, he's removed from the case. He removed himself from the case.
No, but that's not an excuse for you to not disqualify yourself. He is not disqualified unless we acknowledge it, affirm it, and clarify it. And he didn't do that. He walked out after he'd said, "No, you're not going to get no witnesses from DOT, from DOL, and from WASP." This involves a whole scope, a wide scope of traffic conditions and motorist traffic, motorist behavior. It goes back to why did you suspend me? How did I initially get suspended? It's not black or white. That's why I need to read these instructions, which I assume they are. black or white. You're just suspended. No ifs or buts about it. Why are we conducting a trial if no ifs or buts about it? Because you're going to have to bring the basis, the cause as to how I got, and then the procedural. We have state Supreme Court decisions that invalidated these suspensions years ago. And there may be a current one, Redmond versus so-and-so, and Dolan, the other case.
Redmond versus
so-and-so. We're trying to narrow it down. But that's exactly what's playing out right now with the court. You have to take these matters seriously initially, and don't derail the procedure. We were paying fines. We were paying the court to get a show cause. The mail clerk that's no longer there, he wanted me to pay $250 up front, which I did. And I don't know if I got a state trooper that's pulling me over 4 times. He comes out of nowhere.
You got to stop, Mr. Frog.
But those cases, I think, concerning him have been dismissed.
Mr. Frog, you've got to stop. Okay. I want to ask the prosecutor a question, and then after that, I'm going to ask you the same question. So which of these 2 matters does the state prefer gets tried today?
Your Honor, that would be the 5393. It's both older, and there's a witness who needs to drive from Spokane.
Okay. So 5393 is the case from July 16th of 2021, and the only count charged in that is driving with a suspended license in the 3rd degree. All right, so that's their preference to try that case first. It makes a certain amount of sense because it's the older case, but Mr. Frog, do you prefer to try that case first?
Well, let me just say, Judge, for the record, that case, the 5393 is scheduled properly with written notice given to me, whereas the 4974 is not. Okay. So I would concur that case should be tried before.
Then let's
instead of
let's try it case. Then. That's the one we'll take. You both appear to be in agreement with that, and as I said, it makes sense to me based on the fact that it's an older case.
But if one case prejudices the other case, Judge, when we come up for trial on that trespassing case, we're going to have a big heated contention in court.
Yeah, I told you we're not addressing those other charges pending in this court today.
Because Tumwater Police, for instance,
Mr. Frog, that's the interruption thing I told you I wasn't going to tolerate. Stop doing that. That is a directive to you. All right. Now that we've decided that the 5393 case is going to be the one that's tried, we're going to address the preliminary issues in that case. And first, I'm going to address the preliminary issues that were properly filed and raised by the state, which were contained in their motions in limine. And as I usually do, Mr. Robbins, with motions in limine, since they kind of typically involve a lot of the same motions from case to case, if there were any specific ones you want to call out for rulings in advance that we can address.
There's none, Your Honor.
Okay, so when I say motions in limine, Mr. Frog, that's motions that are generally speaking of a sort of a simple and more of a housekeeping nature for the conduct of the trial. And that's what I'm referring to when I asked Mr. Robbins about the motions in limine that the state filed. He doesn't think that I'm interpreting his response as that the matters are so routine that there's no need to really have any preliminary rulings on any of them. And you did not file any motions in limine, which I guess means you don't have any preliminary issues that you need to address.
Well, Your Honor, it was all contingent on the pretrial hearings, which were futile, which were worthless. And then the last hearing, which I thought was going to be a pretrial, it was before a pro tem who has no knowledge of the procedural history of these matters coming forward. And no judge is listening to me. I mean, you want me to submit these? I mean, I can, but I'm having difficulty at the office. My house is in shambles, and then I've got 3 dogs that are restricting me considerably, and so filing something in writing is going to have to be reserved, as it seems right now, on appeal. You know, I'm going to appeal any unfavorable decision. So a motion in limine, if we could, I mean, the matters that I brought up today, the court apparently requires that they be put in writing in a motion in limine.
Well, Mr. Frog, one of the issues that was discussed with you earlier in this case is your decision to represent yourself. And I believe Judge Wilcox is the one who advised you about that. And I know you have been advised about that before in other matters. There are dangers and disadvantages to representing yourself. And some of those include not being able to necessarily get matters heard before the court that you think should be heard because you don't know or don't follow the rules of procedure that lead to being able to get those matters before the court and resolved. And you were further told that the consequences of not being able to do that proficiently fall on you and that the court won't assist you or do them for you. And this may be a good example of that. So, and I don't know, I'm not making any rulings about the merits or viability of any motions that you may have. That's,
well, Your Honor,
up to you. So
let me just say, you know, the court is set back by a couple of years to try to bring these in a somewhat timely manner, but I need at least a year to prepare for any of these cases. And then the order of the trials has to be according to the circumstances, the prejudice, and the merits. And we're putting the buggy before the horse. And I have to persuade the jury that the state's infractions are nitpicking, meritless, they're senseless, and you know, the system is screwed up from the Department of Transportation, the DOL, the Washington State Patrol, including the courts. The court is no better than any of these other agencies. Then we got the municipalities involved.
This is a policy discussion that we don't need to have in the context of the trial of your case, Mr. Brock. We need to focus on just making ready so that we can come back here this afternoon and pick a jury for your case.
Well, Your Honor, if I'm going to be railroaded, there's nothing I can do. I got bail posted.
2.5 years on a traffic ticket.
Inflation,
being railroaded.
The bail, the impounds. You know, I'm strapped for cash, and then I should try to maintain adequate funds to be self-insured, because no insurance company is going to carry me, and if I have to carry insurance, it's going to cost me much, much more with all this bad driving record. And then SR 22, that's the same thing. So I have to watch what my savings are, and I have to have money to be able to keep myself afloat, keep my house going. So as far as fines, the court is not going to be able to collect any fines from me. And then jail time, I got precious pets out there that I don't let them out of my sight. They're with me all the time because I watch them and maintain them and take care of them. Nobody's out there that can take care of them. So, and then, I'm a senior citizen. I live 1 mile away from the bus line, and I can't carry groceries with 3 dogs. I can't leave them unattended because they horse around, they get rough, and the ferocious dominant one gets hostile. She's put serious marks on one dog and scared the hell out of the little puppy almost a dozen times. And so, and then the State Patrol, they don't have clean hands. They're not conducting their patrols and citing people for camping in the left lane, camping in any lane. DOL, the driver's guide. I tried to take the knowledge test, and I tried to, assess the whole entire driver's guide as far as how many times safety is mentioned in there, and that wasn't easy. And I don't think anybody could be equal to me. And then DOL and
Mr. Frog, we've got to focus. Okay, this wide-ranging
discussion. They took the word
discussion.
inconsiderate out of the secretary's introductory letter, along with the governor, and this was 2 publications prior.
Right. So there aren't any.
So that derailed
issues to discuss. There's no motions in limine that need ruled on. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on to the next phase here, which is relatively simple in terms of conduct of the trial. As I said, this afternoon, we're going to select a jury, and I don't know if you've ever done that, Mr. Frog. I can't remember, but in general outline, the way it's going to go is this. When we come back here this afternoon at 2:00, the jury will have been through their orientation, and they'll be seated in those seats back there behind you. And I'll start by giving them some general instructions about the law and about what's expected during the jury selection process, and ask them a few general questions that are designed to touch on their qualifications to serve as jurors. And then each party, first the prosecutor and then you, will have 20 minutes with the panel in order to discuss issues related to qualifications to serve as jurors.
That's going to be choice.
After each side has had their 20 minutes to do that, then we'll convene a bench conference here, which will be on the record, and then we'll go through the process of selecting jurors. The way that will go is each side, starting with the state, will get to make any challenges they have to any particular juror for cause, and I'll make a ruling on that after hearing from both parties. And then once each side has had the opportunity to do that, then it will come time to exercise peremptory challenges. First the state and then you in turn, until each of you have exercised all of your peremptory challenges. And then the remaining panel members after that will be seated as the jury in this case, according to their juror number, 1 through, I think it's going to be 20. So six jurors. I intend to pick 1 alternate. Once they're seated and sworn in, they'll hear further instructions from the court and opening statements from the parties. And that'll be what we do today. Okay. Now, generally speaking, I don't have a lot of requirements in terms of how you address the court or how you address the jury in terms of whether you're seated, standing, at the podium, at your desk. It's fine. Walking around the courtroom, it's fine. You can do all of that as long as it's done respectfully and not in a way that's distracting. That way you can present your case in a way that's comfortable to you. That applies to both sides. So that's what I intend to get done today. I think that's going to be something we can do. It's not too ambitious based on the amount of time that we have and the issues that we have to cover. Okay. Now, unless there are any other issues that either party needs to have resolved or a ruling from the court, I intend to just take a recess here, hopefully address the Heinrichs case, but then reconvene your case, Mr. Farag, at 2:00 and begin the jury selection process. Is there anything else from the state?
Nothing else from the state, Your Honor.
On this.
So, Your Honor, we're proceeding on State Patrol 5393 case, right?
Correct. That is correct.
And the 4974 has been put off.
Well, we're going to put that on to another calendar for jury trial, and today ends the previous excluded period on that case. So time for trial is ticking, so to speak, again on that case. So we're going to get
Your Honor, sorry, Corey Thompson from the state. That is true. However, a new excluded period would start today based off both the defendant and counsel being unavailable while this case is in trial, while the other case is in trial. So this would be a brand new excluded period beginning today.
I'm not going to make a ruling on that. That may or may not be true. There's an argument for that, but I'm not ruling on that.
Understand, Your Honor.
Okay, but let's get, I do want to select a new date to put this on the trial calendar, and the sooner the better, really, unless there are conflicts. So as soon as next week.
So his other case is going to go next week, hopefully. So we're going to, what we're watching right now is what happened yesterday. So we're going to watch the jury selection, and then we're going to pick up with live today.
Let's just roll the case over for jury trial to Monday's calendar, 27th, unless either side has any known conflict with that date.
We do have another trial set on the 27th. The state does.
I expect you do.
Other than that, Your Honor, no conflict.
Okay. And what about you, Mr. Frog?
Are you saying the 27th of November?
Monday. Yeah, next Monday.
Well, that's awfully close, but still we go back to the other case is December 6th.
Yeah, you have quite a few things pending right now. But
I'd be willing to, Judge, file a waiver of speedy trial if that's what is pressing on the court.
It's not pressing.
But I want to order these cases to come one before the other.
Okay.
I would welcome or entertain the consolidation of that Tumwater case with the trespassing case.
Well, that would have to be done. That would have to be done outside the context of this hearing.
And
I intend to set it. I intend to set the matter for the 27th for trial, but for both of you, if any conflicts arise that you don't know about right now, between now and then, the court, of course, will listen to any request to continue or put those on different calendars.
Now, the 27th is on a Monday, Wednesday?
Right, it's Monday. It's next Monday.
And that's at 9 a.m. here?
Same thing, yeah.
4974? Note that, Judge, and make sure that we don't fail to appear. But I still have objections as far as these cases proceeding forward in the order of the cases. And then the prejudice involved, I need an extension of time to focus on just the traffic matters. There's another state patrol case that I don't want to be mentioned until we hear that case. And I don't have those numbers handy.
Well, if the prosecutor were to raise that, any other cases you have pending before the court, before the jury, where it potentially could be prejudicial, then I would expect that you would object, but I also expect the prosecutor won't do it.
I don't want the prosecutor to be saying, oh, he drove with a suspended license and there was an accident. That would compound the black or white technically that I am suspended.
Well, I would expect on an issue like that a contemporaneous objection, meaning at the time if such a question is asked.
Well, the minute he mentions it, it's gonna be impossible to erase that from the juror's memory.
Okay, that may be so, but
since it's a pending case, I don't want it mentioned until it comes to trial.
Yeah. Generally speaking, Mr. Frog, other cases that you have, or even if they're, criminal convictions on your record or other cases that are pending, generally speaking, those are not admissible in the current case. And I expect everybody to follow the rules, and including the prosecutor. And so unless there was some legitimately arguable reason to introduce such evidence like that, I don't expect that they're going to do it.
Well, the admissibility of evidence. Now, I received 3 sets of DOL records. Is the prosecutor going to wave that around and say, "Hey, he's been suspended a number of times"?
I can't answer that. The prosecutor is going to present the case they're going to present. That's in their discretion, and assuming it's relevant and otherwise admissible, then that will go before the jury. Well, if you don't think it is, you would object to it and I would make a ruling as to whether it would go before the jury.
We're going to have to discuss each and every traffic stop to whether it was justified.
Mr. Frog, they're not going to bring up other traffic stops besides this one.
Just the fact that
in all my years doing cases like this, I can almost assure you that those would not come up. At least the prosecutor's not going to raise them. Okay.
Well, anyway, Judge, we're just going to have to play it by ear, and hopefully justice will be served, and merits are not entirely against me. And we're going to go back to how it all started, and it's going to fall on the court's lack of responsibility, lack of adjudication.
We're going to try this case on the law and on the facts, and that's it. And it's going to be fair. That is. I know, but you're talking in generalities. You're vague. The law and the facts, and that's a very complicated thing to research. When essentially, I'm gonna dispute whether I'm suspended and whether it's black or white. And this DOL representative who's going to be called, I hope she's not ignorant, because I hope she's not a dummy that does not going to answer any questions on behalf of the DOL, because I wasn't able to luckily deny these subpoenas. It's impossible to preview that sort of thing like you're talking about. I can't preview each party's case and then make decisions in advance. That we're talking about a procedure that has to be followed for the admission of evidence to be submitted before the jury and properly argued. That's what you're here to do. And I'm here to make sure that only proper evidence goes before the jury. So I think we've addressed all the preliminary issues that we need to, or that we can. So I'm going to recess.
Well, let me just say one more thing, Your Honor. Relevancy, the rules of evidence, relevancy is going to play a big part.
Yeah, Mr. Frog, I've done this before. Okay, I know this. All right. I'm recessing your case until 2:00 this afternoon. And as I said, that's going to be jury selection. We will go right into it. So be prepared to first, listen to that process, and then to have no more than 20 minutes worth of discussion with the jury.
Judge, I know that's what's coming up in a matter of an hour or so. Now, I have a right to a jury of my peers, correct?
No, I don't think you understand what that means. You're going to get a jury information sheets. They'll be waiting for you when you get here. So that's the pool of jurors that you'll be selecting a jury from.
Well, upon examination of the jurors, will determine whether they are jury of my peers,
right,
whether they're competent to be a juror.
Right. Is exactly what I advised you of earlier this morning.
They have to be adequately competent.
You are going to participate with the court in the process of determining that they're qualified to be jurors. That is what the jury selection process is. That's what we'll be doing.
Because, I'm not getting enough adequate fairness from the court. I mean, I should be able to get adequate fairness from the jurors.
Like I said, the state, the court will together be participating in the process of selecting that jury from that panel. You have input into determining who they are, ultimately who sit on the jury. That is part of the process of selecting a jury and ensuring that it's.
No, we select 6 members, right, out of a. Six out of a jury pool of how many?
Approximately 20. It's usually 20.
Well, Your Honor, I continue to maintain and insist on my objections in each and every regard. And the court, I'm going to seek a change of venue. And now how could that, once I file that in Superior Court, a motion for a notice of appeal, a motion for change of venue, how is that, is the court going to ignore that?
Mr. Fraga, I have no way to assess that question at this point. So
you see the document?
I am recessing your case until 2 o'clock. You are all excused or free to stay here until 2 o'clock. I'm switching over now to Ms. Weaver's case. I'm going to call Matt Heinrich, and we'll go ahead and address that case. Ms. Weaver, are you on the line with me?
Yes. Good morning, Your Honor.
Here we go. Good morning.
She's been sitting there listening to all this.
And Mr. Heinrich, is he there with you, or is he waiting to get let in?
Your Honor, he is standing by. This is a, I had car trouble this morning. The intent was to enter a plea. However, just because of issues on my end with, I'm waiting on the side of the road here, asking to continue the date so we can enter the plea. I advised the state of this, and seems like there's no objection, and we're willing to execute a waiver.
Okay, so you want to get this on for a change of plea hearing and go deal with your car issues.
That's correct.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Robbins?
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ashley, plea hearing. And would the next couple of weeks be okay with your schedule?
Yes. Yeah, I'm relatively open except for, obviously.
Okay.
Okay, we don't need to follow exactly what's going on with her.
We've got some tight calendars.
Because this is a different case.
They're waiving, so we can
they're
be a
breaking
little bit flexible
for lunch. Let's see.
Yeah, and if it needs to be.
So the judge has recessed the case.
Okay, then that's the last matter on the morning calendar. We'll be at recess until 2 o'clock.
Okay, so is everyone clear on the time? What time we start again? All right, here we go. We're coming back here. You can see, let's see, the judge is taking a seat right now. I think we start right here, a little bit into this one. This is short.
All right, members of the panel, I'm going to have to excuse you for just a minute. The clerk will escort you back out, and hopefully we'll have our issue resolved and bring you back shortly.
Okay, so those members in the back, those are the potential jurors in this case. So we do get to see them. It's interesting. They're ready to be questioned. You can see that the people have just moved to the other side of the tables to face what would normally be the audience. The judge is behind the counsel tables, and if looking very closely, I see we have standby counsel on the defense side, but no defendant, which might be why we're not able to proceed right now, because apparently at 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock came quickly. Apparently the break was a little short. So let's see. Let's see what the judge is going to do.
Still on the record, but just to be clear, the jury panel is here, counsel for the state is here, and standby counsel, Mr. Pazderka, is here, but the defendant has not returned from the break yet, and it's shortly after 2 o'clock. So, Mr. Pazderka, I was going to ask you if you wouldn't mind to attempt to give him a call.
Standby counsel's like, I'll see if I can find the guy. The guy was not very happy because he didn't get this case pushed out for another year. Judge is not very happy, although he's being super patient. I mean, Judge Doro and this judge must share the same patience gene. Just incredible patience here. So let's just stand by for a minute or two here and see what happens. This all happened yesterday, Michelle, and so we're trying to get caught up on what happened yesterday, because today they're going to be live in court with the jury seated off screen. They'll be off to the right of your screen, and so instead of seated back in the gallery area, they'll be off seat. They'll just have 6 or 7 of them listening. 6 will deliberate. We'll have opening statements. we're gonna get to hear all these arguments again. Okay, here we go, and I think we get to see his foot like enter the screen. That was his foot. That was it. So now I think he's coming back into court right now. We're going to go ahead and hit
sort
the
of
play
staggered
button.
Introduction here. We had an unavoidable delay, but we'll get started now. So welcome to Thurston County District Court. I'm Commissioner Paul Wool. I'm the judicial officer who will be presiding over this trial with you for the next day or two. But before we get started, can I have everybody stand and raise your right hands, please? I'll swear you in. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will truthfully answer any questions that are asked of you by the judge or the attorneys concerning your qualifications to serve as jurors in this case? Thank you. Please be seated.
This is in Washington State. I don't have a lot of documents on this. We just know it's driving with a suspended license.
I'm going to give you some information regarding jury service, a little bit about what you can expect here, the process that we're going to follow. I'm going to start in a minute by giving you some general advisements about jury service and some of the terms that we're going to use and some of the rules that we're going to follow. And then I'll ask you some general questions concerning your qualifications to serve as jurors. After that, the attorneys will get an opportunity to discuss your potential jury service with you in a little bit more of an informal way. After they've each done that, then we're going to select 7 of you to be the jury in this case. All right. So the remarks I make, the questions I ask, the questions I permit the lawyers to ask, and the instructions I give are directed to the attention of all of the jurors in the courtroom. Each of you is cautioned to pay close attention to these proceedings. In order that this case be tried before an impartial jury, the lawyers and I will ask you questions, not to embarrass you or to pry into your personal affairs, but to determine if you are unbiased and without preconceived ideas that might affect the case. You should not withhold information in order to be seated on this particular jury. You should be truthful in your answers rather than answering in a way that you feel the court or the lawyers expect you to answer. It is presumed that when a jury has been selected and accepted by both sides, each of you will keep an open mind until a case is finally submitted to you, will accept the instructions of the court, and will base any decision upon the law and the facts, uninfluenced by any other considerations. The purpose of the questions during jury selection is to determine if you have that frame of mind. The lawyers have the right and the duty to challenge jurors for cause. They may also challenge up to 3 jurors without giving any reason. You should not take any offense if you are challenged, since the challenge is not exercised as a personal reflection on you. This is a criminal case instituted by the state of Washington as the plaintiff. The plaintiff in this case is represented by Deputy Prosecutor Mr. Robbins. And the person sitting here with Mr. Robbins is Mr. Thompson, and he is a supervising deputy prosecuting attorney. The defendant in this case is Nabil Farag, and Mr. Farag is here on my left, and he is representing himself today. The person sitting next to him is Mr. Pezderka. He is standby counsel. You may see Mr. Farag speak with him from time to time. The defendant is charged by complaint with 1 count of the crime of driving with a suspended license in the 3rd degree. The defendant has entered a plea of not guilty, and that plea puts in issue every element of the crime charged. The complaint in this case is only an accusation against the defendant which informs him of the charge. You are not to consider the filing of the complaint or its contents as proof of the matters charged. It is your duty to determine the facts in this case from the evidence produced in court. It is also your duty to accept the law from the court, regardless of what you personally believe the law is or ought to be. You are to apply the law to the facts and in this way decide the case. A defendant is presumed innocent, and this presumption continues throughout the entire trial unless you find it has been overcome by the evidence beyond a reasonable doubt. The plaintiff has the burden of proving each element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt. A reasonable doubt is one for which a reason exists and may arise from the evidence or lack of evidence. It is such a doubt as would exist in the mind of a reasonable person after fully, fairly, and carefully considering all of the evidence or lack of evidence. If after such consideration you have an abiding belief in the truth of the charge, then you are satisfied beyond a reasonable doubt. As this is a criminal case, in order for the jury to return a verdict, you must be unanimous. Now, I have some general questions for you, and if you would answer yes or probably to the questions as I ask them, would you please raise your hand and leave your hand up until the lawyers and I have had a chance to make note of your juror numbers. But don't relate anything specific at this time. So have any of you ever heard of this case before? This case is called State of Washington versus Nabil Farag. Okay. It appears that no one has. And has anyone ever expressed to any of you an opinion concerning this case? All right. And again, it appears no one has. Do any of you know the defendant or the lawyers or anyone in the courtroom associated with this case? Okay. Juror number 12, Mr. Carroll, knows me. So I'll allow the attorneys to follow up on that with any questions they might have. But Mr. Carroll, would that association affect your consideration of this particular case?
No, it would not.
Okay. Okay. Do any of you know any of the following people who may be called as witnesses in this case? And Mr. Robbins, the names of the witnesses for the state.
It'd be Natalie Gronzo and Cole Jackson.
Do any of you recognize those names? I believe that Cole Jackson is a Washington State Patrol trooper, and Natalie Gronzo is a records custodian for this Washington State Department of Licensing. Any of that sound familiar? Okay. And Mr. Frog, did you want to add any names of the witness list for the jurors?
Witnesses.
If you do, just tell them the name.
No, I haven't been able to subpoena any witnesses.
Okay. All right. Have any of you ever had any personal experience with a similar or related type of case or incident? And I'll remind you that the criminal charge in this case is driving with a suspended license. Have any of you had any experience with that, either as a victim, a witness, or as an accused? Hands up there on that. That's jurors 13 and 18. Did I miss anybody? Okay, now jurors 13 and 18, based on that, will that fact influence your consideration of this case? You don't think so? Okay, thank you. And then similar question, do any of you have any close friends or relatives who's had an experience with a similar or related type of case or incident? Again, as a victim, as a witness, or as an accused? And we're going to say 13, 18, 19, 3. Did I miss anybody? All right. For those of you with your hands up, will this influence your consideration of this case? Okay. Thank you. Are any of you connected in any way with the administration of justice? That is with courts, prosecutors' offices, public defenders' offices, or law enforcement agencies? Okay. Juror number 18 again. Anybody else? Juror number 3, juror number 2. Okay.
18.
And for those of you who raise your hand, would this influence your consideration of this case? Juror 2.
Licensing issue, yes.
Do you work for Department of Licensing? Okay. All right. I'll make a note there. The attorneys may want to follow up with that. Okay. And then similar question again, are any of you related to or close friends with anyone connected with the courts, the administration of justice, or law enforcement agencies? Okay, I've got 7, 8.
Half the pool is closely connected to the court.
10 and 11 and 18.
18, you might as well just stand up and say, Judge, clearly, I'm not going to.
Gotcha, number 8. Okay. So for those of you who had your hands up, will this influence your consideration of this case? I think so. Getting no's all around. All right. Would any of you be unable to assure the court that you will follow the instructions on the law, regardless of what you think the law is or ought to be? It's a little bit of a oddly phrased question. So think of it in terms like this. At some point along the way, I'm going to advise you of what the law is, what the law says. And your obligation as jurors is to accept and follow that law. And if that is the case, even if you believe that I'm wrong and the law is something else, or if you believe the law to be something else. Now, can everybody do that? Follow my instructions on the law, even if you think I'm wrong, even if you think the law should be different. Okay, everybody thinks they can. Good. Do any of you know any reason why you might not be able to try this case impartially? And that could be for any reason that you don't feel you could be impartial. Okay, excellent. And then we estimate that this case will take the rest of today, the rest of tomorrow to try. And I know Thanksgiving is the day after that, or Thursday. So with those timeframes in mind, do any of you have any reason at all that you should not sit as a juror in this particular case? Okay. Hard set deadlines, babies getting born in your family. Okay, things like that.
Hand went 15, up, and then came back down. They're not mic'd, so we don't get to hear their.
So what they say about short staffing in pharmacies is true from your point of view. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Juror number 11.
My cases are in coma, and they can come up at any time.
So demands of work for both of you. Anybody else that I missed? Nobody's flying to Europe for the holidays. Okay. All right, then with that, I'm going to turn this over to the attorneys to ask you some questions, and I'll remind you 20 minutes. All right. So first, please give your attention to Mr. Robbins on behalf of the state.
Judge is going back to his bench. Robbins now gets asked questions, probably of the ones who raise their hand. Just a little deeper in that. We'll see where he goes with this.
Good afternoon, everyone.
18 might have a few questions directed.
So I only have about 15 minutes with you, which to me is not a lot of time. And to you, that might feel like a lifetime, especially if you do two of them. So to save time, if I ask a question and the answer is yes, could you just please raise your hand? All right, let's try it. Who lives in Thurston County? Wonderful. Perfect. We selected right. Who is excited to be here? Good. Okay, nice. Well, everybody is honest, it looks like. So I appreciate that as well. Number 19, you gave a kind of like maybe excited. Could I ask why? New experience? Huh? No. We appreciate you being here 3 times. Yeah. Could I ask, who here has been pulled over by the police? Is that everyone? Let me try this again. Who has not been pulled over by the police? Okay. I don't know if I have enough time for this one, but this was a big surprise. I'm going to remember that for next time. Maybe ask that differently. I'm only at my second one of these, so note for later. Okay. Who has served on a jury in the past? Great. Number 2, could I ask, without telling me, with telling me, was it criminal or civil? Civil? Okay. Anyone serve on a criminal jury before? 12, 20, 7, 3, 4. See if I can remember that number in reverse order. 12. Without telling me what the case was about, could you tell me if a verdict was reached?
No, a verdict was not reached.
Understood. Thank you. And I think next was 20. Wonderful. Again, please don't tell me what the verdict was, but was a verdict reached? Yes. Thank you. And I believe 3 was next. Yes, 3. Bled out and 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Next, please raise your hand if you drive a car. All right. Now, this isn't to catch anybody, but please raise your hand if you have a license. Yeah, okay, good. And I know you're honest because of that first question. Good. Could I ask number 5, you drive a car and you have a license. Let me ask, why do you have a license? Wonderful. 6, why do you have a license?
I've always had one to drive.
Makes sense. How about number 9? Oh, yeah. Is that a commercial license? Okay, so you've got, license and a license. Yes. Okay. And how about one more? What about number 14? Understood. This is kind of a weird question, maybe, but could you physically drive a car without a license? How about number 6? You raised your hand.
Yes, you can.
Totally, right? And yet we have them. This will be one of my last questions here. How about number 4? Why do you think the state requires people to have a license to drive a car?
Meet the safety and legality requirement.
How about number 9? Why do you think the state requires us to have a license to drive a car?
For safety reasons.
Cool. Well, yeah, no, I was wrong, not you. But thank you for safety reasons. Number 8.
I'm sorry. Question again.
Why does this? I'm sorry. This was 100% my fault. Yes. Why does the state require us to have a license to drive a car? Wonderful. All right. And lastly, are there any questions that you're thinking, if he would have asked me this, I would have raised my hand and it would have got me thrown out of here? That's just burning in your mind. Number 13, what is it?
I don't believe that the state does licensing for safety measures. Generate income and create waste that are legal.
I appreciate that answer. And again, I know it's honest.
Off.
Anybody else?
He's off the jury.
No. Wonderful. Thank you again for being here.
That's the only one the prosecution is going to strike, I think. That last guy I believe the state just does it to earn money.
Members of the panel, now please give your attention to Mr. Farrar.
I need to stand, Your Honor.
It's up to you. You can.
Well, that's a good question, jurors. We have a serious situation. Involves thousands of dollars, millions of dollars, and the driver's license is required by the state. I don't think anyone's going to agree with me. Essentially, to take that question or the answer to that question beyond what was asked and what was answered, the state requires to keep tabs on each motorist to see who's safe and who's not safe.
Incoming objection.
And to see if there's a pattern from a motorist, a problem motorist, like, for instance, driving while intoxicated, reckless driving, and so on and so forth. But the driver's license, traffic infractions that result in your license being attached should not be based on traffic stops or infractions that are nitpicking, and the court should not quibble over it and dismiss it like as if it's not worth their time to adjudicate, because if it's not resolved, then there's issues that linger and result in unresolved issues. But you can drive without a driver's license, and everything's fine if you don't get in an accident, if you don't get pulled over. But the police out there, and here we're dealing with the Washington State Patrol, and they patrol Interstate 5, especially northbound through.
Your Honor, I would object. These are closing arguments and not so much.
Okay. Can I have counsel approach, please?
Okay. A question ends with a question mark. You have to ask a question. So you're making statements. That's for closing arguments. So ask a question at this point. Just ask questions. Mr. Rock's looking around like, I'm not sure what's wrong with you guys. I was doing fine.
Anyway, your jurors, thank you for being here today, and we want this case tried fairly. We want it. We don't want the merits of the that are either in the state's favor or the merits in the accused, myself, in my favor. We don't want those overlooked because there's a lot of money involved.
Millions.
And the reason,
Your Honor, I object for the same reason. Again, we're on. This is argument.
Mr. Frog, would you please just ask the jurors questions?
Okay, sir. Now, I take it, Your Honor, I'm asking questions to not any specific juror, but to the pool.
You're allowed to ask them all questions or just one of them. It's up to you.
The jury is done deliberating at this point, I think. This is a great time to
question that the state posed.
Standby counsel.
State's attorney is, why do the state require a license? Now, my answer to that is more comprehensive. I know number 13, a juror back there. Could you clarify your answer, sir, as to why they require? Why a certain law exists and the enforcement of that law?
No, just about the existing law.
What was that specific law?
The requirement to have drivers.
Well, I think we all agree that the requirement to have a license is a valid requirement. But do any jurors agree or disagree that privilege to drive or the requirement for the license should not be abused by the system?
Agree or disagree? They all should be raising their hands.
Or misadjudicated? Does anyone disagree with that? Does everybody agree with that? Well,
sir,
the requirement to have a license.
Sir, this is a Wendy's.
The resulting traffic stops that attach your license or put a mark or put a flag on your license. It should not be based on conditions outside the motorist control, such as traffic conditions, road signage, driver's behavior. Would anybody disagree with that? Do you want me to read? Do you want me to? Well, I'm saying that your license and the traffic stops should not be based on nitpicking reasons. And if they are nitpicking reasons, the court should adjudicate that based on the favorable merits to the motorist that was stopped.
Okay, that was a little clearer.
Because
no silly
road
tickets.
Conditions, weather, other motorists, their driving behavior.
Your Honor, I object for the same reason. This is again, this argumentative and not selection of jury.
Mr. Frog, don't explain your beliefs to jurors. Ask the jurors questions about their qualifications to serve on this jury.
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
Okay, Your Honor. Let me see if I can put this in a different way. The validity of the suspensions is in question, and it's based on traffic stops that are.
Your Honor, the state objects again, presenting issues at the trial. It's this jury selection.
Yeah, Mr. Frog, the court will advise the jury on the law.
Well, we're getting to the point to where I can't even rephrase my questions, but do any of the jurors here believe that a third-degree suspended license is either black or white? There's no gray areas. Does anyone believe in that? What's that? Go ahead, sir.
Yes, we agree with black or white, correct?
Yeah.
It's very clear. So yes, I agree with that statement.
You agree with that? There's no gray areas? It's either you're suspended or you're not suspended, right?
Yeah.
Well, why do we have a trial?
That question you asked was, is there a gray area after a suspension? If you're suspended, that's black and white.
Yeah. I hear what you're saying, and
I don't like it.
I have a problem with that. But in this particular case, there's gray areas, there's mitigating circumstances, and the court. Do any of you jurors believe that the court has their adjudication is beyond question up to this point? The adjudication means how they handled this matter from the time that I was summoned.
They have no clue about
from
this
the time from the time that the State Patrol referred my infraction to the court to this point where there's a trial. Do any of you believe that the court is that their discretion, their handling of the case, and the decisions, and the addressing the problems and the questions and is beyond question? Anybody?
I'm confused. So, if a license is suspended, something occurred, is the ability to drive withdrawn, restricted, or can you drive while the license is suspended pending a trial? Is that what you're asking?
No, I'm asking whether the suspension is valid, is enforceable, is
by definition it's enforceable until you go to trial.
Yeah. Well, if we go to trial and the jury disagrees with the validity of the suspension, then the jurors would vote for me instead of the state?
I would support the ruling in the court after trial.
What is your thinking that the ruling of the court's going to be?
Don't know. Have to give the circumstances.
How are you going to vote? Is what he's saying.
Like the reason for the traffic stop?
Sure.
For example, the reason I was stopped and cited for third-degree suspended, that's very questionable.
Here comes an objection.
So I think the jury, would you agree or disagree with that? Who would agree with that? Right. That's why we have a trial to determine whether that suspension is valid in order to put me on trial and have the jury decide the matter.
You're talking about stuff that is not relevant.
Consult with counsel, please. Just consult with your standby. He can give you good questions to ask.
Now, do you, all you jurors, practically 18, if not all of you, 20 jurors said that you live within Thurston County. Is that correct?
Are we going to address subject matter jurisdiction?
Now, do you jurors travel Interstate 5? Do the other jurors that didn't raise their hand, do they use the city streets? Or do you use the I-5? Both? Well,
Not in my head, the I-5 question.
I didn't.
Not in my head, the I-5 question.
Yeah.
Not in my head.
So you drive the local streets?
How does he do that?
And do you think there's any
I'm going to turn the sounds down.
There's
so
any
we can hear these answers.
restrictions in the local streets that you have to drive Interstate 5 instead of the local streets, such as roundabouts? You said you drive the local streets, right? And you drive I-5 too, right? Now, when you drive on the freeway, do other motorists going slow or going fast affect how you drive? Raise your hand. Okay, so if for example, a truck is going slow, you have to get around him. You have to do it expeditiously so you don't hold up other traffic that's behind you. Isn't that fair? Fair, reasonable driving?
I want to hear what he did. Did he like floor it passing somebody who was going too slow?
Well, if the car is going fast, if cars are going slow, if there's congestion, you don't want to contribute to the congestion, so you're going to have to pass. Isn't that a safe manner of proceeding around the congestion? Wait till what? And well, if it's safe to get around them, and the other traffic behind you is pressing you, wouldn't that be contradictory to staying behind the congestion of the traffic or trying to get around them? Well, that's if there's no way to get around them.
The jury at this point is like, is there anything I can say to get off this jury?
First rule, in any traffic situation, stay with
Well, do you believe that there's a multitude of variables that you either stay in your lane or you go around them? What rule is that, sir?
Stay in your lane. Rule 1.
And where do you get that? Where do you get that thinking from?
Why should I stay in my lane?
What's that?
Where do you get that thinking?
So studying for your license? The driver's guide? The driver's guide.
It's in there. That's how I got a lot of my.
Here's the driver's guide, the current one. I have an older copy, and at the first introductory pages, you have a letter.
Your Honor, the state would object. It is doing the presentation of something.
Yeah. Well, I'm getting ready to ask a question.
Right. Address your comments to the court, please. And it's not proper to introduce exhibits during jury selection.
Well, anyway, the first 2 pages has got a letter from the governor and a letter from the secretary of the Department of Licensing.
Well, anyway,
and
here's my exhibit.
What about campers? Does anybody here in the jury know what camping in the lane means?
So for your reference, you're not the jury yet. You're the juror pool. The jury's not been selected yet.
Mr. Farag, that's time. Can I have the attorneys and Mr. Farag approach, please? And members of the jury, you can take a break in place. I ask you to just sort of keep facing this way because the attorneys will need to turn around and look at your numbers.
Okay, so now both sides having had 20 minutes to question the juror pool, prospective jurors. They now get to make their preemptive strikes.
This bench conference is on the record. So this is the device that records. So make sure you're speaking close to that as you reasonably can. Okay, the first order of business here is going to be any challenges you may have. And so I'm going to start with you, Mr. Robbins. And
I'm not finished asking a question.
You're finished because your time's up.
I'm not finished asking
I
questions.
told you that this. I did.
And besides,
I
I'm
told
not
you
getting
twice.
enough minutes. I didn't hear you. I didn't hear you.
This is an example.
How many minutes were you giving sign?
20 minutes.
20 minutes.
Mr. Robbins didn't use 20 minutes, but you did. So now this is the part of the trial where we're doing jury selection and we're doing any challenges you may have for cause. And I'm starting Mr. Robbins. And it was going to go to you next.
Can we just clarify the relationship?
Yeah, sure. He's somebody. Okay, just proceed. Okay. No, we're not related or in business together or anything like that. Understood.
The relationship.
Nobody followed up with that. I figured you would, but were you challenging for cause or just asking? Just asking. But do you have any cause challenges? No. Okay. Right. So, Mr. Farag, it's your turn. Do you want to challenge any of these jurors for cause?
What about the statement? You want to challenge any?
He didn't want to challenge any for cause.
Yeah, I'm going to challenge this last juror that was speaking. Was that number 12?
13.
I'm going to challenge him for.
Okay. What's the basis for that challenge?
What's the cause?
He seems to be speaking as far as you're driving in an oppressive way. There's no flexibility in what he's saying as far as you're driving. You stay behind the congestion. There's room to pass, you can't pass. And that's oppressive. It doesn't promote harmony on the road. And that means safety. Because the congestion, I've seen a lot of renders.
That's just
That was just his brief premise. Everybody else's belief. I think that was true conflict.
Listen, I can't hear what he's saying.
Lean in a little closer there.
I'll speak up.
But I'm going to deny the challenge for cause. The reason is that does not articulate any reason to believe that juror would be unable to be impartial, or that the juror would not
be the jury foreman.
You have to stop interrupting me, Mr. Brown. This is non-negotiable.
Well, your disqualification is non-negotiable.
So, to finish what I was saying, there was no indication that he would be unwilling to follow the instructions of the court. So I will deny the challenge for cause. Do you have another challenge for cause for any other jurors?
I have 3 to choose from without cause.
Correct. We're not to that point.
No, I didn't get a chance to. Are we going to do individual questioning of the jurors?
No. We're going to do individual one at a time peremptory challenges. That's the next part of this. So the state gets 3, you get 3, and you'll exercise them in turn, one after the other. So starting with
until we pare it down to 7?
Until you've done all your peremptory challenges.
Well, I get 3, he gets 3, there's 6. Minus 20, that brings it down to 20.
Potentially 14.
24.
There could potentially be more left unchallenged than we actually need for the jury, but that's fine. We're just going to take, as I said in the beginning, we're going to take the first 6 qualified jurors. Mr. Robbins.
Your Honor, the state would to address the potential hardship of having GM. Both of them had a work on February, especially 15.
Didn't think those conflicts were particularly strong.
I'll just forgive Your Honor.
As far as, do you have any peremptories?
Yes, Your Honor. Number 4.
So the state has exercised a peremptory challenge on juror number 4. It's their first peremptory. So your first peremptory, Mr. Brown.
He's going to point at him.
Just by appearances.
Just by appearances.
I didn't. I wasn't clear. I didn't hear. You didn't make it. You didn't make it clear and audible.
We're past that. I need to know your first peremptory challenge, if you have one.
No, I would just be guessing by the looks of the jurors.
It appears to me that you may have been somewhat confused by my answer with regard to your challenge for cause. You are also allowed, if you would like, to strike that juror with a peremptory challenge.
Oh, okay. He got number 4, right?
Yes.
Okay. The peremptory challenge, that's one of my 3. Okay, I'll take 13 now.
Okay, so you're second. 5. So the state's second was juror number 5. And your second peremptory challenge?
But I don't want to be limited short on this trial, Judge. I mean, the jury questions, the time is arbitrary.
No, it's not.
I believe it is.
It's my obligation to manage the time during which we use various components of the trial. That's my role in this, and that's what, trials are always shorter than you think they are. Any experienced attorney will tell you that. So I need to know if you're going to exercise another peremptory challenge.
They're trying to whisper so the jurors can't hear, but I imagine they can hear a few things.
I don't know.
He's just eyeballing the jury pool. Potential jury pool. Like, oh, let's see. Who don't I like? The jurors are just giving the evil eye back.
Do you have any other peremptory is have him take his third.
Pass.
Not necessarily.
Mr. Hunt?
I saw you saying if I don't do my peremptory now, I lose it.
If you accept the jury panel. Yes, I'm confused exactly what you want to do.
Well,
do you want him to use all of his peremptories before you use yours? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, you can't do that.
Well, if he takes 3, I take 3. He's about 24. 23 times. Oh, one at a time.
Peremptory for each of you at a time. They go back and forth until you've each exercised 3.
Right. That brings it down to 20, 14, yeah. 13 or 14.
14.
Because you said there was a 7th juror.
Well, that's going to be next. We're going to get to the alternate juror next.
So we're trying to, he's trying to just see who he doesn't want. He argued with a couple people.
Peremptory challenge.
So we've got who knows who's off so far. The state was the prosecution was really smart. They started excluding people in the first 7. If you start excluding people on the back, we're probably not going to get to them anyway. So you want to exclude the people on the front end. But 4, 13, 5 are off so far, and now Mr. Farag is doing some heavy thinking. He's got some tough decisions here.
You're done, you're done.
I do think.
Does that, at this point, without my third, would you call it a preemptory? Without that, is it going to be pared down to 13?
The top 6.
Oh,
we're going to take the top 6.
You take the top 6.
If you don't have any more, we're going to take the top 6. I need to know, like, now, whether you're exercising
right now.
So we have the top 6 at this point is 1, 3, 6, 8, 9, and 10.
No, the top 6 are 2, 3, 8, 9, 10.
8, 9, and 10.
Unless you strike one. I do need to know that.
This is the longest.
Okay, let me just a second.
Now that he understands the process, he's going to do so much better on his case next week, I think.
After number 10 would be excused, right?
No, one of these will be an alternate, and then everyone after that will be excused.
How's that going to be chosen?
The next juror in line.
Oh, he'll become the alternate?
Right.
Oh, I see. And then we'll get to it later as far as the foreman?
They do that. That is not, we're not doing that here. They do that later. So again, you're going to need to use your final preemptory, or I'm going to move on to the alternate.
The live trial's taking place today, so we're catching up on yesterday's.
Here, I'll tell you what. I need to choose one.
You don't have to.
Okay, I guess I won't. But what time are we going to cut off this afternoon?
After we give our.
What time is lunch?
All right, so the 6 jurors will be 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Do you, I guess before I get into the selecting the alternate, do you believe it's necessary to have an alternate for the shot?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. But unless you have a strong objection to that, I think that makes sense, because we're having people come over overnight. Sometimes things happen. We could use an alternate. So that means that number 11 would be the alternate. I'm going to ask you first, Mr. Robbins. Are you going to exercise your single peremptory for this alternate? Okay. And Mr. Frog, are you? No. Then we have our three. What I'm going to do is I'll have you go back to your seats. I'll tell them who's on the jury. And then once we've excused the remainder, then be prepared to deliver openings after I advise them.
Now, Judge, am I going to be restricted as far as my time?
Yes, you are. Both of
like
you
in what way?
I'll go over that with you in just a minute.
All right.
There's too many restrictions. I'm not getting very comfortable.
All right. These are your Mr. Frog. I'm going to give them back to you. Yeah. All right, members of the panel, we've got the 7 of you who are going to be members of the jury. So I will announce who is on the jury. And if I don't mention your number, you are excused from further service in this case. The members of this jury will be numbers 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, and 11. The remainder of you are excused from further service in this case. Thank you for participating with us. Make sure you check in with jury services if they've instructed you to do that. Now, for the jurors whose numbers I did call, I'm going to ask you to get up from where you are and go over here, and the clerk will seat you in these chairs. Yeah, I'll give you a break in just a second, okay? Yeah. Okay, so, gentlemen, you'll do it? Okay. Yeah, let's go. Oh, yeah, Your Honor. I just, it's heavy. And did you? I think this is it. Thanks for helping out. Yes, I usually do it myself. It's fine. Chair back around the other side. Started down there.
Okay, I can speed up the jury instruction a little bit.
So before I swear you in, I think this is appropriate time for you to take a bathroom break and then come back into the courtroom. Okay? So take 5 or so.
I forgot to get a bathroom break, and then we're going to start with opening statements. Okay, so yes, jurors 2, 3, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. You're in my prayers, Diane. Thank you for echoing all of our sentiments. With that done, let's get rid of, we have, I believe, one more to watch before we're caught up on today. And today we're going to be with it live. If we can get the timing to work out properly. This one's only 24 minutes long, and I think those are our openings.
And do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will well and truly try the case and declare a true verdict according to the evidence and the instructions of the court. Thank you. Please be seated. It's important that you keep your minds open and attentive throughout the trial. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else. Do not permit anyone to discuss it with you or in your presence. A violation of this order would be serious. It may involve a personal penalty and may result in a mistrial, which would cause great harm to the parties. Now, you will not be sequestered or kept together during this trial. And because of this, you're admonished not to read, view, or listen to any report in the newspaper, radio, or television on the subject of this trial. And I'm going to expand that to include any internet research. Don't Google any of the stuff that we've been talking about in court, the law, the participants, anybody like that. Okay, stay off of Google when it comes to this trial. Do not permit anyone to read or comment on it to you or in your presence. It's important that you keep your mind free from extraneous influences so that you may decide the case on the evidence and under the court's instructions on the law. If your family and friends ask you about the case, you should tell them that you're under the court's instructions not to discuss it. When the trial is over, you'll be released from this instruction and you'll be free to discuss this case and your experiences as a juror. The lawyers, the defendant, and the witnesses are not permitted to talk to you during the trial. Even a conversation which had nothing to do with the case would give a bad appearance. For this reason, the participants in the trial will not greet or converse with you during the trial. And while you're not to be sequestered during the trial, you will take all of your breaks in the jury deliberation room. And when we recess for the noon period and for the day, depart directly from the jury deliberation room and proceed out of the courthouse. When you return, come directly back to the jury deliberation room and avoid any inadvertent contact with anyone who may be part of this case who you're not able to recognize by sight. Now, you as a juror should never seek out evidence or do any research. That includes internet research. You should not inspect the scene of an event involved in a case, as conditions may not be the same. There are many other reasons why this case must be decided only on proper evidence admitted in the courtroom. If in your normal coming and going from court sessions, you would see the scene or pass the scene, do not stop and investigate, and please advise the clerk so that she can tell me. I may repeat or refer to these instructions from time to time during the trial. These instructions continue to apply throughout the entire trial until the case is submitted to you for your decision, whether or not I specifically repeat or refer to them again. And I will now explain to you the functions and duties of jurors, the court, and the lawyers, and the procedures to be followed during the trial. The lawyer's remarks, statements, and arguments are intended to help you understand the evidence and apply the law. They are not evidence, however, and you should disregard any remarks, statements, or arguments which are not supported by the evidence or by the law as the court gives it to you. The law does not permit me to comment on the evidence in any way, and I will not intentionally do so. By comment on the evidence, I mean some expression or indication from me as to my opinion on the value of the evidence or the weight of it. If it appears to you that I do comment on the evidence, you are to disregard such comment entirely. The lawyers may make objections to questions and evidence. They have a right and duty to make any objections that they deem appropriate. Such objections should not influence you, and you should make no presumptions because of their objections. The evidence that you're to consider in this case consists of the testimony of the witnesses and the exhibits admitted into evidence. It will be my duty to rule on the admissibility of the evidence. You must not concern yourselves with the reasons for these rulings. You will disregard any evidence which is either not admitted or may be stricken by the court. The case will proceed in the following order. First, the plaintiff's lawyer may make an opening statement outlining the evidence to be presented on behalf of the plaintiff's case. The defense lawyer may make an opening statement, or in this case, Mr. Farag may make an opening statement outlining his case immediately after the plaintiff's opening statement, or he may reserve his opening statement until the conclusion of the plaintiff's case. Second, the plaintiff will introduce evidence. At the conclusion of the plaintiff's evidence, the defendant may introduce evidence. Rebuttal evidence is also permissible to be introduced by either side. Third, at the conclusion of all of the evidence, further instructions will be given to you, after which the lawyers will have the opportunity to make closing arguments. Then you will select a presiding juror and deliberate on your verdict. You are officers of the court and must act judiciously and with an earnest desire to determine and declare a proper verdict. Throughout the trial, you should be impartial and permit neither sympathy nor prejudice to influence you. Members of the jury, I ask you to give your attention to Mr. Robbins with the opening statement on behalf of the state.
Members of Thurston County, good afternoon. On July 16th, 2021, Trooper Cole Jackson was sitting in his patrol vehicle at the gore point of exit 108 on northbound I-5. In his rearview mirror, he saw a vehicle approaching him at a high rate of speed and then cut across the gore point. He followed that vehicle with his emergency lights on until that vehicle stopped near the Department of Ecology parking lot on Martin Way. He made contact with the driver and identified that driver through his Washington State driver's license. Trooper Jackson performed a driver's check on that license using both his state-issued laptop and by radioing it in to Washington State Patrol Communications. Both of these sources returned the same information, that the driver was suspended in the third degree. That driver was identified as Mr. Nabil Wagby Farag. In the course of this trial, myself, on behalf of the state, will present two witnesses. One will be Trooper Cole Jackson. He will testify as to where he was that day, as to seeing the vehicle cross the gore point, and that he identified the driver of that vehicle as Nabil Wagby Farag. You will also hear from Natalie Gronzo, who works for the Department of Licensing, and she will testify as to the license status of Mr. Nabil Wagby Farag on July 16th, 2021. At the conclusion of that testimony, I'll be here before you again, and I will ask you to return a verdict of guilty for the state. Thank you.
Short and sweet.
And now, members of the jury, please give your attention to Mr. Farag with his opening statement.
This one may be a little longer.
My opening statement is essentially this. The validity of the suspended is in big question. There's problems with the court, this particular judge who created a situation initially which led to the suspension. The traffic stop, the gore point, is there to be, it's not illegal to drive on the gore point if you have justified reason to drive on the gore point.
And that objection is sustained. Just
anyway, hold on, we got a question up here, Judge.
Anyway.
Go ahead, sir.
No. Juror, you have a question?
I don't know what a gore point is.
Okay, let me explain to him, Judge.
At this point, the attorneys are going to give you their opening statements, and there may be information in there that is a roadmap to things you may hear more about later. And I'm going to ask you to remember the instructions I gave you a few minutes ago, that the case will be decided based on the evidence presented in court and based on the exhibits admitted into evidence. Those will come later in the trial.
Well, the gore point, jurors, is the line between the exit and freeway. It's at Slater County Road, I-5 northbound. And that's right through Metro Thurston County. So there's a trucker at the, I'm planning that maneuver way back, a quarter of a mile, almost a half a mile back. The reason for driving that is based on driver behavior in general. The right lane is an off-ramp, excuse me, it's the on-ramp from Pacific Avenue to Slater County. Excuse me, it's an on-ramp, turns into an off-ramp from Pacific to Slater County, and it has two directions to Slater County, and it goes on and continues, and it has an exit at College Street. Now, when you have two truckers side by side, one's trying to pass the other one's not slowing down, you got congestion. You got a hazardous situation behind, if you want to be behind them. If you're behind the truck, visibility is limited. You don't want to be behind the truck. In the rain, they're kicking all kinds of oily water on your windshield, which, I mean, the windshield washer, I use 2020 concentrate. It's the best you can use. But disparagingly, if I have to clean the glass in the summertime, I have a bottle of water. I don't use the 2020. So I was justified in passing that truck. So I got pulled over
Objection
for a nitpicking reason. It's opening statement, Judge.
Just a moment. Let me hear the objection.
It's argumentative, Your Honor.
Yeah, sustained. You can't argue to the jury here, Mr. Just outline your case.
Well, we'll argue later at my testimony, Judge, but the validity of these suspensions, it bears down not only on the State Patrol, and they're playing games on I-5, especially northbound, specifically northbound, from all the way from Trosper Road, you say, from I-5 101 junction, all the way out to Martin Way and clear to a little bit past Marvin Road. But through the metro area, through Thurston County, it's you got on ramps, you got off ramps. It's not an easy road to drive on. You have to pass. But that's not permitted, State Patrol. What's permitted and what's not permitted depends on conditions, on the traffic conditions. The right lane, like I told you, at between Pacific and Slater Kenny, it's a passing lane. The law says you do not slow down until you get off the freeway. That's when you slow down. Now, you're justified in slowing down before that if the off-ramp is short, such as the Port of Olympia, State Capitol, City Center. That's a short exit. You're justified slowing back further. So I specifically drive that lane and in that way to help train other motorists in that regard. Now the officer...
I'm training other motorists. That's why I drive like this.
They want everybody to drive 60 miles an hour. So how are you going to pass another vehicle without exceeding the speed limit? When you pass a vehicle, you got to speed up. And the faster you do it, the safer it is. Not the slower it is, or the slower and unsafer it is. We got two truckers riding side by side. We have motorists who will drive right next to a truck.
He's describing his road
Somebody's
rage.
trying to pass. He's blocked the number one lane, the slow lane. The number two lane, the middle lane, is blocked. You got the number three lane, and there's maybe a camper. He doesn't want to pull over. You have to pull over. That's the law. Well, you got all kinds of speeding tickets. We've never had a trial that addressed a speeding infraction on I-5.
Sustained. Again, Mr.
Well, he's
this isn't the time.
interrupted me 3 times, Judge. I'm counting the minutes here.
Please continue.
Thank you.
Everything's been sustained.
So we got a lot of problems out there. And we got the police nitpicking. You hear these police saying, the speed limit is 60 miles an hour. No, the speed limit is the average speed, which is around 67 miles an hour. And I've driven the SeaTac corridor a lot, from Olympia to Pierce County to Fife. I get my fuel there. And I've gone as far as Bellevue, South Seattle. Port of entry for my family is Snohomish County, Everett, back in 1963. And we go as far down as Portland. Our daddy's buried in Portland. But I'm a senior citizen. I live about a mile away from the bus line. I've got 3 dogs. For the last 2 years, I've got 2 German Shepherd females, 2 sisters. And I had to pick up a puppy. A puppy to help me train them. And I've got $4,000 tied up in these purebreds. I can't lug them around on foot. So the suspensions has to be taken seriously, or the cause of the infraction has to be taken seriously, which the court failed to do, refused to do. They're facing change of venue. It's not a traffic court here. We're going to take it to Pierce County or King County. But I can't lug 14-pound dog food and hold off 3 dogs that are yanking on the leash, strain my hand. Luckily, I was able to write. This hand has been numb for about 3 months. With the other 2 dogs, they're strong, and they yank on the leash. It's hard to train them. And I have to watch them. I have to watch them daily, continually. I don't let them out of my sight. because I have to watch if they get injured. I have the smaller shepherd, is a ferocious dominant one. She's got a new name now, Jealousy, because every time I lovey-dovey with the other two dogs, she has to come and interject herself. So the driving privileges, the driver's license must be taken seriously. When I get infracted, and I'm running into all kinds of expenses, impounds, people breaking in.
Argumentative.
Sustained. And also time, Mr. Frog.
Well, I started at 10 minutes, 20 minutes till, Judge, and he interjected me 3, 4, 5 times.
Go ahead and finish your thought here, and then that's all.
But anyway, the validity of these suspensions based on nitpicking traffic stops, the State Patrol playing games through Metro Thurston County, they're doing it very little at late, not like they were before. But it's a state capital. And they have to, and the speeding, we've never had a case come to trial that adjudicated the speeding. So why even bother to subpoena the officer? They're not going to show up. They just like to infract you so they can pay the court. They reap a lot of money every year from all these traffic tickets. And, we were paying fines and this and that, but it got to be ridiculous. And then when you don't want to adjudicate the matter, I have, one particular case that's a repeat pattern with a particular traffic stops. And that needs to be addressed. I got to file appeals. People are busting my windshield next to Puyallup, Portland Avenue, off Puyallup Avenue, where the Tequila Inn at 6 o'clock in the morning. People are jumping on my roof because they didn't like my parking there next to the lot where they built that.
That's time. I'm going to ask you to please have a seat.
But anyway, the suspension is invalid. The court doesn't have credibility. And
have a seat, Mr. Frog. All right, now, members of the jury, this is the point where I'm going to break you for the day and excuse you to come back tomorrow. We'll recommence. I'll ask you to be back here and in the jury deliberation room at 9 a.m. and we'll start with the evidence part of the case at 9 a.m. I'll just remind you as you go, don't discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else until the case has been submitted to you by the court for your decision.
We're not done because there's an issue.
Have a nice evening, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning.
As the jury leaves, there's an issue that still needs to be resolved. And it has to do with the time the court starts today. So let's see. Right now it's 10:39. What time is it in Washington? For those of you that are in Thurston County, Washington, what time is it over there right now? The defendant in the coat, the one who is speaking, he has next to him what they call standby counsel, which is basically an attorney that he can consult with if he chooses. But he doesn't want one. He wants to represent himself.
Just a couple of things before we go for the evening. If you have any exhibits that haven't been marked, would you get them to Ashley so that they can be marked so we can use them right away tomorrow? Also, when I know, Mr. Frog, you don't have to decide now, but I'm telling you now, you may decide to testify in your case. If you do, I'm going to have you testify narratively, meaning I'm not going to require you to ask yourself questions and then answer them. That's, I think, an awkward and kind of weird way to do it, and it's not productive for jurors. But with that in mind, of course, the prosecutor can object if your testimony becomes objectionable for whatever reason, relevance or whatever. So if the prosecutor were to object during the time you're testifying, I'm going to ask you to just stop and I'll make a ruling on the objection, or I'll ask you for information and then make a ruling on the objection. So if you decide to testify tomorrow, then that's the format that it's going to take. You'll be able to sit there after I swear you in and essentially tell your side of it without having to ask yourself questions and answer them in a kind of an awkward way.
Tomorrow we resume at 9:00.
Yeah, we're going to start with the state's case. They're going to do theirs first, and then as soon as they're done, it'll be your turn. And you, like I said, that's where you put on your
cross-examine state witnesses.
Absolutely.
And then after that, I testify.
After the conclusion of the state's case, yes. Then you may testify. You're not required to. It's 100% your decision.
I know that.
Yeah. Okay. And then it's 9:00 tomorrow. I am emphasizing it's 9:00 tomorrow. I will not wait like I did this afternoon. I explained to you 2:00. We're going to have jurors in chairs ready for jury selection, which we in fact did, and you were late. Mr. Frog? No. We're going to commence at 9:00.
Judge.
Don't interrupt me. If you have an emergency, which I understand may happen, call the court and tell us, and we will check and see if there's an emergency. But do not push any boundaries with me on this time. When I say we're going to commence at 9, barring an acceptable emergency, we're commencing at 9.
Well, if I'm not able to appear, it could have a problem with the dogs. The weather could be freezing.
Call the court.
Yeah, I will. I definitely will, and I'll try to verify it. But the car could break down. My sleep.
You can call the court.
I will.
If that happens, we'll get a message. We'll know if there's a problem. But like I said, barring that, 9:00.
But there's a half a dozen different possibilities or reasons that I could have a failure of the car. If it breaks down, I can't leave the dogs at home.
Give us a call. That's all I ask.
And then
dogs out in the car
politics,
right now?
for instance, I'm having to keep tabs on the news up to the minute. This has been going on for the last 2-3 years, ever since the 2020 election.
I have no answer for you there.
And,
bad news is not an emergency. All right, we're going to recess here for the day, and we'll see everybody back here at 9 a.m.
Your Honor, there are some state's exhibits that we're still finishing redactions on because, oversight on my part, I'm used to redaction requests coming from defense.
Sure.
And obviously the reasons that didn't happen.
Yeah, and I'm sure Ashley will be here. So
we'll have them marked prior to the court taking the bench.
Okay, we'll see everybody tomorrow then.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Okay, so tomorrow is actually today. I don't know where that camera went. I think I killed it. So tomorrow is today, which means we have the privilege of getting more of Mr. Frog, live from Thurston County today. Assuming he shows up, because there has been a history of him not making it back to court for one reason or another. Basically, I think he said last time he wanted to see who would show up and serve the warrant for his failure to appear. That's why he didn't show up. Let me see if I can get my phone working. And let's see. I think I can charge it right here. Let's try that without buzzing anything. There. Now it's charging. Trust this computer. Enter my password. Super secret password. Okay, there it is. Okay. All right. So today we actually have just over an hour before court starts in Washington. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on this one. Because we're in Thurston County District Court number 4 on YouTube. This is going to be a live stream today. Subscribe. Why can't I? Oh, it doesn't let me ring the bell. Oh, they don't let you ring the bell for some reason. So I have to just watch. We have to watch. I'll need some people to watch for me, for those that are familiar. This is Washington State. This is a gentleman we've actually seen many times before. If you've followed Law Talk with Mike, you've seen some Thurston counties. I think they've had a SOV-sit as well that was pretty famous. I think we've seen this guy in a previous hearing, but now he's actually going to a jury trial, which is what he's wanted all along. 2.5 years to get to this point, but now he's not ready. Let's see. Nirvana Grunch. This guy has more people knowing of him at this moment because of Recovery Addict than he has probably had in his entire life. This is great. All right, you have arrived with 2,000 on the silliness. Congrats. I feel bad. I will tell you, this gentleman is not mentally unfit. He is of sound mind. He just does not agree with the law. And he wants to argue it out and be right because he argued it. Now, that we do have an adversarial process in the courts where each side argues back and forth, but it's very structured. The rules are unique. The setting is specified. The way evidence can be admitted is very strict, and he will have none of it. And so we've seen over and over, basically his closing argument is every argument he makes to the judge, and he has a list of grievances. He has a list of things that he is very upset about, including the fact that these tickets that are being handed out. A software update is required. Not now. Thank you. The tickets are being handed out willy-nilly. That these are silly offenses, that the cops have better things to do than pull people over who pass trucks on the gore area of an off-ramp, because clearly that's what you would do if somebody's camping in a lane in front of you. This guy has like road rage, okay? And he like swerves to pass people. It sounds like on the right, at a high rate of speed, because that's what's safest according to him. And yes, and it sounds like he's still driving. It sounds like he's driving. I got to get this other camera on. Hang on one second. There we go. All right, we're good. Let's see. This is charging. Yes. All right. So we have an hour now. I would say he's mentally he's all there, but he disagrees with a lot of people about things. I do not know about him and his dogs, other than that he says he has to watch them at all times. He said that a couple times, doesn't let them out of his sight, and he can't ride the bus because of his dogs. And he has mentioned he drives. I think he has his dogs in his car. I think he leaves them in the car. Now, I'm not a big fan of that. I realize the weather is not such that it would be in Washington. It would not be extremely detrimental to the dog's health in the short term, because heat can definitely kill a dog very quickly in a car. So I don't think that's the situation right now. Sounds like he was behind a semi who was trying to merge and pass them, creating unsafe circumstances for everyone on the road. Correct? Yeah, pretty much. This is him. He passed because they were camping in his lane, and he had planned this out for a quarter mile. He had planned this move to pass on the right through the gore area. He's been in this judge's courtroom for the better part of the last 2 years. Planned it half a mile ahead. It's also illegal leaving pets in the car. The fact that he's saying he's driving, I'm concerned about that, because apparently his license is suspended. Maybe they gave it back to him. And it's freezing. It's freezing in Washington. I'm looking for the objection counter. I think my youngest son stole the iPad to play Pico Tanks on it, his favorite game. I'm looking for water. Oh, there's a bottle. Yay. The last bottle of water. Okay, so here's what I think we're going to do. I think we're going to take a short break and come back with a live court. Is that okay? See, I'm trying to get Trying to get a couple things done. It's not working very well. Okay, I think if I take a short break, my voice will be better, and we'll be able to follow this court when it goes live, which means we have an hour. If we come back in 1 hour, court will be ready. If anybody sees anything before then, if they start early for any reason, just hit me up on the burner phone. We'll go live immediately. We won't miss anything. But if I talk for the next hour, I will have no voice left. And then we won't be able to have fun during trial. This trial, it's slated for all day. It's not going to take that long, I don't think. I think what we're going to have, it start 9 o'clock in the morning. They have 2 witnesses, and so we should be done by their lunchtime. Really, deliberation. I think just gut feel on this one. Hear me out on this. I think it's going to be short. I think it'll be short deliberation. I think the jury will reach a verdict. No clue as to how they may be leaning or feeling right now. Obviously, they're going to be fair and impartial. What's a third-degree suspension? Worse, but how so? I think it's criminal, Priscilla. I think it's a criminal suspension. Anyway, we're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to rest my voice. I promise to be really good. We can always start a few minutes late and go 1.25 speed. We might have to, just because the court does not give notice of when they start. We know it's 9 o'clock, so be here. Be ready. I'll be watching. This is out of Washington. This will be live today. So if he doesn't show up, we won't know until court starts today. And he's not showed up before. He was late yesterday. Washington State. So what exactly can the verdict or sentence be? Let me see if I can Google that for us right now. Washington State suspended license. Third degree. Caught driving with a suspended license in Washington. In the state of Washington, the offense of driving while suspended in the third degree is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 90 days in jail and a maximum of $1,000 fine. However, you may be eligible to get your license reinstated. So the millions of dollars that are at stake, obviously not his millions, just 90 days in jail, which is significant, especially because he has 3 dogs. He's raised that to the judge already. And the $1,000 fine, also significant because he has 3 dogs. And those are not cheap. He's got $4,000 tied up in his dogs right now, I think. So that's where we're going to go. So let's break for lunch. We'll have an early lunch here on our side. We will be back for court this afternoon. It's a pro se. It's not a sov sit. The difference between sov sit and a pro se. Sovereign citizen is somebody who says that I am my own law. I'm my own country. I answer to no man or no country's laws. I'm not under anyone's jurisdictions but my own. I have to give consent for anyone to do anything that affects me. Those are the sovereign citizen. Darrell Brooks tried to be a sovereign citizen. He also wanted all the protections of the Constitution, but we won't go there. A pro se defendant can be a sov sit as well, like Darrell Brooks. But a pro se defendant also is just someone who says, I want to represent myself. I think I will do a better job than having any lawyer explain the case to anyone. And so I'm going to represent myself. This individual is not sovereign citizen. He's just pro se. And honestly, he knows a lot of the words. He doesn't know what they mean, but he knows a lot of the words. So we're going to hear some of those words as court begins here in about 1 hour. So we're going to go a quick break. I'm going to rest my voice, maybe drink a little more hot chocolate, because that always feels good. Allie B learned what a gore point is today. Thank you. Allie, we all learned a little bit every day. I'm going to try to rest my voice for an hour. The magic words aren't magicking. As he's tried to dismiss the judge, he wants to change a venue. He wants the court system delayed for just 1 more year so he can prepare for this traffic ticket. 2 witnesses. He has not been able to subpoena any witnesses. It's been a miserable 2.5 years. So Anyway, if you're not able to join us this afternoon, this is one you're going to watch on replay. You're going to want to watch the ending to this one. I think it will end today. It's a one-day trial as far as the actual, evidence goes. I think it'll be really quick. So I've got this marked. It's in our SovSit playlist. I realize I don't have a separate playlist just for pro se, but it's in the SovSit playlist. So if you're going to miss this one, just look for it there, and so we can see the ending together. Pray for the judge, guys. Pray for the judge, because he's waking up this morning and wishing he chose a different career. And he's going to need every ounce of patience that's available to him. So be mindful of him today. As we prepare for the holiday weekend with Thanksgiving coming up. You guys, tonight when you go home, please hug the people you love. Smile at someone, make their day just a little bit better. And please stay safe to go live again in about 50 minutes. We'll be right here with part 2 of the pro se defendant, Mr. Nabil Farag, who is charged with driving on suspended license in the 3rd degree. And he's going to put up a strong defense. We'll see you guys after lunch. See ya.